What living thing do you feel close affinity with?
Which living thing best represents me? I keep wanting to come back to the leaf sheep sea slug. Not that I've ever met one, but I just love that they're out there doing their thing, being funky, and are small but mighty in color. And I feel like I bring a lot of color into my artworks. So all of those kind of, but I think maybe if I'm going for plants, I'd say moss as a um, as a kind of representative of my engagement with the world, um, slow, steady, but absorbing and amassing ideas, inspirations, and growing, but kind of to the contours of whatever the moss is growing on. Yeah.
What is the more than human artist that you admire the most?
Off the top of my head, I probably would say the sky, as a constantly changing palette of colors and shapes and moods, and how it sets the tone. I'm just looking right now into out to blue sky with white clouds, and just like how that can so quickly change to like steel gray and kind of create this kind of like oppressive drama, or blankets of rain and the lightning and the sunsets, whether you've got the most incredible hues of pinks and purples.
What action do you think needs to be taken to address our current relationship with the sun?
The ways in which we are building our cities and designing our neighborhoods, the materials that we're using. And this is, a lot of this is like governmental kind of responsibilities, but there is some things that we can still do as individuals. But it's holding the sun's heat too close, and we have not evolved to withstand that. So really paying attention to the geometries of our cities and the materials that we're using, and um, and the shade, the access to shade and cooling water and breeze being able to move through these cities. Like, how can we start to open them? What decisions can we make as communities or as voters to demand this natural release that should be happening every night, right? Like, the cities are just holding it. The other aspects, like really kind of recognizing those qualities of human nature that have led us to this sense of, or this lack of humility in place of our closest star, and this sense that humanity can control nature. So questioning that. So I'm really interested in like Jungian theory about shadow work. So that kind of came in. But I think the other kind of key message was community. Like, from the solar perspective, the piece kind of ends with, the Earth is turning on its axis, and it's a witness to all of the incredible number of activists and activist communities that exist, that are working together. And it's, the systems that we are living at the moment are doing their best to tell us that we are alone, that we are in the minority. And, I think there's a lot of interesting research in Melting Metropolis about actually the real sheer number and strength and power of the grassroots work that's taking place in these cities. And so it's really about connecting, um, and finding community and sharing your experiences.
What are your fears and hopes for the natural world?
I think my greatest fear for the natural world is that humanity will miss this tiny window of opportunity to change course, act in, from a place of reciprocity and humility and kinship. But therein also lies my hope. There is still a window, there is still a chance, and I do believe in humans. I do love humans, even though as much as I despair occasionally, more frequently at the moment, of some of our choices, there are just so many incredible communities and movements that give me hope. So it's that they're in the same place of just, we've got this window.
What is your happy place in nature?
I think my happy place in nature, it changes depending on where I'm at, but like wherever I can see nature just bobbing along, doing its own thing, thriving. I mentioned just before we started the interview, just yesterday I got to go on a snorkeling kind of trip around the coast of Cornwall here, and just like being able to just see the majesty of all these different beings kind of living, doing their own thing, and not really kind of concerned with what these random humans were thinking or doing. And that was a happy place. That was a real honor, and very humbling, and very inspiring, just to kind of see that ecosystem that seemed to be thriving in that part of the coastline. Yeah, that gives me joy.
Bryony, thank you so much for using your talent to make nature research more accessible for all and inspiring us to be more playful and colorful. To learn more about Bryony's work, visit the link down below. Thanks for tuning in to Rewild Yourselves in Conversation series. To learn more about the inspiring Rewild Yourself champions and for more ways to find your wild, visit rewildyourself.com or join the conversation on Instagram at rewildyourself.